I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reminder to silence your cell phones if you have them, and meeting documents are to the left over there on that end of the podium, if you will. And if you have a need for a listening device, Robert would be able to help you with that. With that, we'll start with routine business.
Item 1 is consider a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes 3-0.
Item 2 is to approve the County Commission minutes of August 6, 2013.
Approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any changes or corrections? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 3-0.
Item 3 are bills to be paid in the amount of $814,331.01.
Pay the bills with a comment.
Second.
Commissioner Heiberger?
I have to comment just because Jeff's not here, but I noticed that somebody has to take up for him. I noticed that Human Services
don't.
Yeah, has a long list of payments to Sanford Hospital for medical bills, and I did not add them up. Jeff would have.
Yes. Any other comments? Thank you, Cindy. We have a motion and a second to approve the bills. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously 3-0.
The next item are reports. The Minnehaha County Human Services report for July 2013. The Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office report for July 2013. The auditor's account with the county treasurer as of July 31st, 2013. And the Minnehaha County Regional Juvenile Detention Center report for July 2013. They have all been received and are on file in the auditor's office. The next item is to approve the routine personnel action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve routine action. Any comments? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimously passes.
Item B is to consider a motion to approve a step-level increase for Juvenile Correctional Officer 1, Brandon Vandenhuel, by 1 step. Maggie Gary.
Good morning, Commissioners. Maggie Gary from Human Resources. As you know, Brian promoted from part-time to a full-time Juvenile Correctional Officer last July. Employees who promote are eligible to receive an increase of 5%. We are requesting Brian be given an additional step to place him where he should have been when he promoted.
Okay. Thank you, Maggie. Anyone have any questions of her? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the step increase. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimously passes. Thank you.
There are no application for abatement today. Item 7 are notices and requests. A notice from Wild Prairie Winery of an intent to conduct a fundraising raffle to benefit the Edith Sanford Breast Cancer Foundation. The drawing will be held on September 14th, 2013. And item B is the East Dakota Water Development District notice of meeting on Thursday, August 15th, 2013 at 10 a.m. at their office at 132B Airport Avenue in Brookings. There are no planning and zoning notices today and no petition for compromise of lien. The next item is an opportunity for a public comment.
Anyone who would like to make comments about anything that's not on the agenda, we'd love to hear from you. Anybody have any comments? No one's moving, so we'll go to the regular business items.
Well, 9:15 is supposed to be a hearing, but we are too early for that, so we'll move on to item number 11, which is to consider an amendment to an agreement between Minnehaha County and the South Dakota Department of Corrections to house state work release inmates in Minnehaha County Community Corrections Center. Ken McFarland.
Commissioners, I've been in communication with the warden. This was an agreement that you had deferred a few weeks ago, and the warden would ask that you just defer this indefinitely, and we will bring this back to you when the agreement is ready for your consideration. There's a few things he's still working on with this agreement.
Motion
so
to
we'd
defer?
ask for a deferral indefinitely.
Motion to defer indefinitely.
Second.
Thank you, Ken. I have a motion and a second to defer indefinitely. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion unanimously passes.
Item number 12 is to authorize the chairman to sign an agreement in the amount of $13,170 with JSA Engineers, Sioux Falls, for preliminary engineering agreement for replacement of structures 50-290-131 and 50-290-135 on 483rd Avenue. DJ Boothie.
Morning, Commissioners. DJ Boothie, Highway Superintendent. Last week we had a short discussion on starting the design of some 2014 bridges, and we had been in negotiations with 3 different consultants for 3 different projects. This is one of those that negotiations have been completed and we have a contract ready to go, and it's for 2 structures just north of Brandon, or north of Garrettson, or south of Garrettson, north of Brandon, sorry, on a township road. 2 structures that we wish to replace next year, and this is for the hydraulic modeling and the TSNL, which stands for type, size, and location. This is what is completed. We've done with other projects before the design phase. It's basically to determine what we are going to be designing, so when we enter into a design contract, the engineer has all the information they need to properly examine how many hours they're going to put towards the design. So if you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Thank you, DJ. Anyone have any questions for DJ?
I should add one more thing, Joe.
Certainly.
We don't have funds budgeted for this specific design this year. However, we are low enough on other projects that we can afford the design work and the TSNL pre-design work that we're requesting today.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? If not, we'd look for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any other comments? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion unanimously passes.
Item 11 is to consider a recommendation to reject a submitted bid for project MC 121 STR-113, bridge numbers 50-240-085 and 50-240-095 on Highway 121. DJ Boothie.
Commissioner DJ Boothie again, Highway Superintendent. We received bids last Wednesday, August 7th. We received 1 bid from Sioux Falls Construction on the 2 121 bridges. Currently they're posted at 3-ton and 6-ton, just south of the Arrows entrance on Highway 121. And the bids were 30% plus or minus over what our engineer's estimate was. Our engineer's estimate was $1.1 million, and the bid came in just over $1.4 million. We've spoken to that contractor and others who chose not to bid, and their construction schedule is basically full through the end of the year, and we had a December completion, and so they weren't comfortable saying they were able to complete this work this fall. The contractor that bid the project, he said that he wouldn't even start it until the middle of October, and with the beginning date of middle of October, he would definitely not be able to complete 2 bridges before the winter season set in. And so with that, we're not comfortable awarding the bid at this time. We would like to reject the bids and then re-advertise more than likely sometime in November or December to award the bids with $2,013 for 2014 construction.
Questions for DJ? DJ, did you talk to any of the other contractors on why they didn't bid? 1 bid is pretty unusual, frankly.
Yeah, and it was all based on schedule.
Okay.
They have too much work. One contractor actually had a bid prepared for $1.1 million plus or minus, and he told us he pulled it that morning because of schedule.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reject the bid and reconsider it at a later time. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion unanimously passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is Minnehaha County Commissioner Liaison Reports.
Does anyone have any liaison reports?
Just in the interest of filling time, since we have lots of time. The fair completed this last Sunday with 9.5 days, and I don't have an official report from them, but just from what I've been hearing on TV, and I'm sure everyone else has, is the fair has been very successful. The rodeo on Saturday night, when the rainstorms came through, had pretty much completed before The rains came through, and they were planning on riding again on Sunday. I'm assuming it went all well, and I was out there a couple days and had a great time, so.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Any new business?
Did you want me to talk about resolutions?
We'll get to that. I have one, and then if you don't mind. I got a request, long email, frankly, and it came through a couple of different sources, one the mayor and, of course, the person who requested it, having a significant concern about people who are at the fair who have had criminal backgrounds, especially sex offenders and drug dealers, and because the fairgrounds is not considered at this point, a park or a school or whatever, they're kind of isolated. So I forwarded this to Kirsten, and Kirsten gave me a legal opinion, which again is well done, long, thorough. No Reader's Digest version, but I would like Kirsten to talk about our options, because I think this is a legitimate issue that needs to be considered. So if you'd give us that.
Sure. Thanks, Chairman. Just briefly, the citizen concern was, as Gerald mentioned, the designation of the fairgrounds possibly as what are called drug-free zones as to drug dealers, or basically a zone that excludes sex offenders from loitering in it. And under our statutes, there are only very specific areas that can be designated as in those categories. The drug-free zone under our statutes does include playgrounds and youth centers. I don't think it's really arguable at this point to consider the fairgrounds as falling within that. So no matter what our designation of the fairgrounds would be, I think we're without power on our own to designate that as part of the drug-free zone under statute. As far as the sex offense statutes go, prohibiting that loitering in some areas, it does include both parks and playgrounds in that definition. Of course, the county commission is empowered to designate an area in the county a park under certain statutes, but compounding that issue of designating our fairgrounds as a park is our state statutes set out the means of funding park functions versus fair functions very differently in two separate chapters of our code. And I have some concerns that even if you were to designate the fairgrounds a park, that would muddy the waters as to how those functions and operations are funded as to maintenance and et cetera. And also, of course, we also have the third-party lease with the fairgrounds operation too, and I think that would complicate that as well. My recommendation is if there is some interest in designating the fairgrounds as these type of areas that would exclude this activity by statute from there. Of course, it's already illegal, but it would exclude this specifically under our statutes, is to ask the state legislature to put fairgrounds in the definition of those two chapters that designate that as part of either the drug-free zone or the sex offender zone. And I would recommend probably that is the cleanest way to lobby for a change in that. On our own, it's difficult for the county commission itself to achieve the ends that are being asked for by the citizens. But it is a legitimate citizen concern and request, I believe.
It certainly is, and I think it was a thoughtful request. My understanding is, and I haven't had a chance to talk to fairground management beforehand, and obviously they were busy, so we'll take that up in the near future, but it's my understanding that the carnival workers themselves and some of the employees all go through background checks before they're hired by the carnival. But that's about as much as the information that I know. So I think it would be important for us to get a little more information before we pursue this, because Kirsten's right. I think this is a state change in the legislative law, so we'll have to take it step by step, but I don't think we should just ignore it, frankly. Any comments? Questions? Evidently, we're fine with that. We'll get some more information and maybe even have Scott Wick come and talk to us about some of the policies and procedures they do for security issues. Good, thank you. Any other new business? Ken, resolutions? I guess that's probably old business by now. Could have been, sorry.
Commissioners, as you're aware, last Friday, the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners Resolutions Committee had their first run at the resolutions that had been submitted by the various counties around the state for consideration at convention as part of the association's legislative package for next year. There were 16 resolutions that were submitted for consideration. 5, of course, came from Minnehaha County, and the committee passed 3 resolutions. And that the 3 that were passed, one has to do with predatory animal control and the setting of certain bounties on some of those types of animals. The other one dealt with some capital outlay issues as it relates to road funding. And then the last one was a variation of the one that Minnehaha County had submitted. They did an amendment on it whereby on the property tax limitation, the change would be property taxes are limited to 3%, the CPI, whichever is greater. And that right now the state law says whichever is less of those two. And that, so those were the 3 resolutions that were in fact passed by the committee and will be up for consideration at convention in September. Now there is a process by which you can pull resolutions off of the table to be considered by the main body at convention, and I'll be happy to run through that with you later on, and what that process is. But 3 survived the process out of 16. So,
Thank you, Ken. Any questions of Ken? If not, we should go back to item number 10, which is the petition.
Item 10, consider a petition to vacate a public road right-of-way legally described as that portion of Jeannie Drive, beginning at the east edge of Kathleen Drive and extending east to its end and laying adjacent to Lot 3A, Block 2, Hartford Heights Addition, Northwest Quarter, Lot 4A, Block 2, Hartford Heights Addition, Northwest Quarter, and Lot 6, Block 4, Hartford Heights Addition, Northwest Quarter, all in Section 25, Township 102 North, Range 51 West. Pat Herman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat Herman for the Planning Department. And you have a request today to vacate Janine Drive. And it is located in Hartford Heights. You can see that start on the map and its location to the City of Hartford. This is in our joint platting area with the City of Hartford, and they will also hold a public meeting on this request. Janine Drive is at the east end of Hartford Heights development, shown in the red stripe there on the map. There are 2 property owners that abut this area, Thomas and Margie Schurenbrand, that are here today, and they have submitted the petition. And then to the south, Wayne and Bernadine Boggs. The Boggs were notified, and we never received any response for them about this request to vacate. This area was platted in 1977, and the road was never constructed. And since that time, there's been landscaping and trees added to the area. And so the petitioners would just like to vacate it since they have been maintaining that area since they moved in there. If this is approved, the road right-of-way splits down the middle, and 33 feet will go to the north and 33 feet to the south property owners. If you remember from last week's meeting, Golden West does have some kind of lines running through this area. That easement was approved by you last week and has been filed with the Register of Deeds, and that's on the south 20 feet of this right-of-way. And if this is approved, it runs with the land, so that easement will stay in place. A few pictures for you. This is looking from east to west, looking down to Janine Drive where it comes into this area. This is where the road goes to the north on Kathleen Drive. And, let's see, right over here, this is the petitioner's driveway. And then this is the area here that is to be vacated, and kind of right in this area here. And you can see that it really has been put in its natural state and also landscaped. So the request for you today is to either approve or deny the petition to vacate that portion of Janine Drive that Cindy read in for the record. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And as I mentioned, the petitioners are here if you have any questions as well.
Any questions for Pat? Thank you, Pat. Would the petitioners like to say anything? Tom or Margie, would you like to come forward or not?
Just would appreciate it if you would approve this.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the vacation. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion unanimously passes. I think we're back to maybe any other old business. This may be the quickest meeting in 3 years.
We're gonna
Thank you,
write it
Peter,
down.
for coming back. If not, motion to adjourn.
Do we have an executive session?
We do have one item, I'm sorry. One item for exec session. It shouldn't take more than a minute.
And what item is that?
It's for personnel.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn to exec session for personnel.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn for a personnel item for exec session. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion unanimously passes. Thank you.